Hey guys, Adam here with yet another video for you today. And in this video, we're actually going to do a product demo of the new addition to the CoinUp family, which is the CoinUp-4UP/6UP. And this guy was designed specifically for games like X-Men, games that do not have dedicated player start buttons, right? So for those of you familiar with the CoinUp, it was designed specifically for games like Double Dragon and games like Donkey Kong, games that had dedicated player start buttons, right? And so you would walk up to the game, you would press player one start, it would sense that, it would send a coin pulse to the game, and then it would send a pulse to player one start and start the game for you. So it was very intuitive, and it worked well for games like Double Dragon and Donkey Kong, etc., etc. But these kind of games, games like X-Men, games like Simpsons and Turtles, they don't have player one start buttons, right? And so how do you start a game? Well, each player has its own dedicated coin switch, right? So you can see there's 6 players here, and there's 6 coin switches, and so the player would walk up to the cabinet, they would put a coin in whatever character they wanted to play, and then the game would sense that, and then you would start the game. So how do we resolve that, right, with a CoinUp? So what I decided was we basically monitor the attack buttons here. And so when you first fire up the CoinUp, it understands that, you know, basically no characters are in play, and it's monitoring these attack buttons. And if you come up and press an attack button, it'll go ahead and coin up that specific character, and then it'll kind of go into a sleep state where it's basically just monitoring that button to see if it's getting any play. And if a person is playing this character, you know, moving the joystick and hitting the buttons, then obviously it is, and it won't send any more coin pulses to that character. What it's looking for is a period of time where that character is idle. So let's say the person plays and they use up all their lives and they're dead, you know, they walk away from the game, they're done. The CoinUp is going to basically, you know, count and monitor that button. If it sees that that button is idle for, let's say, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 seconds, then it figures, okay, this guy has walked away from the game, this character can now be played again, and so now it'll go back into its initial mode where if you press the button, it'll go ahead and coin up the character again. So that's one key feature here, and that allows this thing to work with games like this that don't have, you know, dedicated player start buttons. So some other features: each player is completely independent of each other, which means players can come and go as they please. The CoinUp is monitoring each player independently. We do have some dip switches up here. This will all be explained in the manual, but some of these switches will help you select, you know, how many credits per game, and then the other switches will let you indicate how long you want that idle time, basically where the CoinUp is monitoring, you know, activity on the attack button, how long, when the attack button is not being used, how long of a period before it goes back to that initial state where it will allow you to add credits. I typically, in this situation, I like to set it to, I think, the insert credit to continue timer. I want to say it's like 30 seconds or something around there. That's kind of what I have set it up here, because I've seen the cutscenes and all that kind of stuff. But if this is in a, you know, a barcade and you've got players who maybe have not experienced this or want to see the cutscenes, maybe want to be a little bit longer if the cutscenes are longer than 20 seconds. But the goal is essentially not to insert any more credits until that player is legitimately done, right? So that's what those features are for. One note: when I first got this game, right, when John and I got this game years ago, I was so excited to bring it home because this is a game that I have such fond memories of playing it in the arcade as a kid, but I never got to the end, right? And so when I first got this thing home, what's the first thing I did? I just pounded it with credits, you know, played with the coin switch, loaded up with credits, played through the whole game, beat the game, and it was awesome. But after that, it was like, what's the motivation to play this game again? So that's where this thing really comes in handy, is that I can set this to, you know, 1, 2, 3 credits, and that's it. As long as I'm playing my character, it's not going to let me put in any more. And in addition, as long as that idle time is set long enough, it's not going to let me put in any more. Even when it's counting down and saying insert credits to continue, it's not going to put in any additional credits. So I have those initial 3 credits to work with, and it's up to me to see how far I can get in the game, and that's it. It's not going to give me any more. So that feeling of having to make that last is back now because of this. So I really enjoy that. So anyway, enough chattering. Let's kind of just walk through this a little bit. So if I can open up this real quick, I'll show you guys how I have it set up here. So I have the CoinUp mounted right there, and I kind of just ran, you know, obviously wires to each one of the player attack buttons. You can see here, these little blade splitters come in really handy. I can't recall where I found those, but I'm sure if you search around you'll find them. And I basically just put a blade splitter on each attack button, so I didn't have to solder anything. And then I use the same approach on all the coin switches. And so every single guy has its own you know, coin switch, obviously, and attack button hooked up. and then if you just come and press a button here, it'll go ahead and coin them up. So I can go to any one I want.
Storm, Nightcrawler, Wolverine.
That's right.
Dazzler.
Now, one feature I should say is that I don't have this. One of the dip switches allows you to do what I call auto start. And so again, if you recall the original CoinUp, it would put it would send a pulse to the coin switch, and then it would send a pulse to the player 1 or player 2 start button, starting the game for you. I had requests from people to not do that, or to at least be able to turn it off, because some games, once you start, there's kind of a customization screen or something like this maybe, where you want to wait for other people to join in. So they're like, can you hold off on starting the game? And so sure, I added that feature. It's auto start, but we can turn it on if you want, so that as soon as you press the button, it starts the game. And that's it. So now you're kind of playing right now. And as long as I'm pressing this button, you can see it's not sending any more coin pulses to the game. And if I stop pressing the button, right now it's counting. It's monitoring. All right, this person is not pressing the attack button. Let's just see how long they're away from the game, or how long they're not pressing the attack button. And once that idle time reaches a certain amount, it's going to assume, all right, this guy's done. And then it'll allow you to go ahead and coin it up again. These guys have been sitting kind of idle. I'm actually curious to see if it'll coin up. Yeah, it did, because as we've been chattering here, they've been sitting idle. So anyway, this is the guy right here, and so there's enough inputs here for 6 players, right? So for the few people out there who actually have 6-player X-Men, it's got enough for you. I think typically most people will probably use it for maybe 3 or 4-player games, for which it's got plenty of inputs. This part over here is for, plus 5 volts in ground, and like the original CoinUp, it can get its power from the pull-up resistors that feed all of these inputs. And so the CoinUp that I have in here, I actually don't have 5 volts hooked up. It's able to get its power from the player buttons just fine, which is the same feature as the original CoinUp. And that's pretty much it. I will put all of this into the documentation, obviously, so you guys can get familiar with it. But I'm really excited about it, because that's one thing that ever since I've been selling the CoinUp, a lot of people have been asking me, how does this thing work with a game that has no player start buttons? And my answer basically was, it doesn't. It just won't work. But this is a nice solution, and it's designed specifically, like I said, for 3, 4, 5, 6-player games that are set up this way. You can also use this, I should say, though, with games, 4-player games, 3-player games that do have player start buttons, right? You would simply hook up the signal to, rather than the attack button, you would hook up to the player start button, and it would work in the same way as the original CoinUp. And so don't think that this will not work with games out there, 4-player games that do have a dedicated start button. It absolutely will. So yeah, like I said, I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward to people's reactions to it. And if you should go to onecircuit.com, you'll find all the info there, the documentation, everything like that. So if you got any questions at all, just ping me, let me know. Either through the channel here or through my webpage, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you guys have. But yeah, I'm psyched about it. So hopefully you guys are too. Alrighty, that's it for me. So thank you guys. God bless, and we'll catch you on the next one.